Can you hear us in the clerk's office?
Okay, very good. You don't need to do that. Yeah, would you?
Okay, we hear you. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we gotcha.
Okay, thanks.
So
We're dealing with our fussy
this is my copy. I did bring,
microphone connection. So,
okay, I did bring some extra copies of just like the first couple of sections.
okay.
Would you like one?
Yes.
I'd like to make some.
There you go.
Thanks.
There looks like one. It's not the whole thing, but it's just.
You want a synopsis?
It's just the
It's
first
the-
couple of sections.
The meaty part or something?
It's the very beginning.
It's in here.
It's a summary.
I have my copy.
It's the same thing, just the first couple of sections. Do you want to know?
I'm fine. Great. And Kate, did you make it, Kate Kelly McKenzie, another town board member? So,
Okay.
What are you looking at down there?
what?
What are you looking at?
Sure. Okay, you have one. Yeah, thank you.
You haven't seen it before, right?
All right, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for the report and everything, sort of gave us a good idea of kind of what it would mean, given the feedback we gave to you. So we felt like, I mean, we thought the cost was pretty high for what we were expecting. And so we just thought it'd be really good to have a candid, a conversation about what might be prudent things for on our side to decide that could help to lower the cost. So we have the 3 concepts you gave us. Those are great. So yeah, so we're just we're happy to be moving to this stage and getting to the point of providing some feedback. And Tim, did you want to follow up on any of that?
I mean, I think it's really helpful. It's really detailed. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, the cost window, I was going pretty much from your proposal that you gave to us.
Okay.
And those costs in that proposal were significantly lower for almost all the projects than here. And I can see it's looking to me like one of the reasons the costs are so high is square footage, most likely. Some site preparation. So, I mean, I thought it would be really interesting to have a conversation about how we could deal with that in a reasonable way, still keeping a lot of the goals. I mean, I think that what's represented here is the fullest candy store that one could imagine, maybe. And that a lot of that resulted from the meeting that we had in the highway department with Bobby, who naturally responded positively to almost all the questions. Would you like this? Would you like this? Would you like this? And I think that from the board's perspective, we're hoping to achieve something in the middle. Another thing that I just noticed, and so that the square footage question, the issue is one thing, and I would think that that's in a way the easiest thing to resolve to a certain extent. And then the other, one of the things that I noticed is that in all three proposals, so the first proposal, I think proposal 1 is the upside, is the top side, right? And this is just a question that I had as well, which would pertain to costs. If we build down below, would we necessarily have to re-engineer the entire hillside? And that's an open question.
You mean the road along the back?
Yeah, could we keep some version of the road that we're going to have? Would that actually save money, et cetera, et cetera? So those are just the things that I noticed, and that doesn't include, little tiny details. We don't need to get into that. Like the Coke machine.
And I know in regards to the road, under all the scenarios, we tried to adjust the slope.
Right.
To something that, you could converse safely. I know that there was a lot of comments from all of people that we talked to about, in the winter, that's a very slippery slope. In the winter, when there's ice on or something, you have a fully loaded truck, you're trying to go up or down it to get materials. So we try to get that grade, working with civil, something that was, you weren't experienced that anymore. But that is, a significant cost, and you are pressed up against the property line in order to achieve that. When we tried to press it up against the property line so that you had as much site available for everything else. Especially because we didn't know at some point, where it truly is the problem.
Yeah,
That was the whole conflict, and according to civil, they were saying, no, there's a little property line there. That's where it is right now, or right away, excuse me, right away. That's the property line, but I know.
Oh, is this on the street side then?
Yeah, on the street side.
Oh, okay.
Right.
State right away.
There was the whole state right away that was like, old.
It's an old state, so
Left over.
should be smaller for the county. It should be a narrow right of way with the county road than the
It
state road.
should be, but according to civil, that state right of way was still in existence.
Okay.
It was something that needed to get cleaned up.
Do you know how things like that get amended, corrected? Because the
Personally, I don't.
the shape of it
I'll
is
have to
bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, the shape was very bizarre.
Yeah.
They
So-
had problems with that one, they
Clearly.
redid the bridge, Brookdale, the upper bridge, they had the old state right of way mixed up with various properties and.
Yeah.
they had to clean up that. And we did that.
So you have to get the agencies talking, with state DOT, they may be willing to modify that, but. Keyword may. You're right.
Well,
When,
I
how long
mean,
it takes them to get to it.
where there's a will, there's a way, I think.
There is.
Yeah, so I would say the town, state, and the county, maybe.
It was a state road and now.
It's a county.
Yeah, so you need the state DOT, county DOT, the town sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
To just
How do we do this?
present that, and then typically you'll need a map amendment if you're gonna abandon that, so survey would need to get involved to help recreate a map. And then the deed would need to get changed, right, for that right away language, but yeah, okay, survey to get
Yeah.
involved on our end. The first step is start having open communication to see
Yeah.
if it's even possible, the state will entertain it.
All right, and do you think that, I mean, I'm hearing you say that right of way consideration affected your design?
We did a scenario where we tried to respect that current state right away, and we did a scenario where we assumed it would get fixed. So I think, the site can accommodate both.
If we take care of that, does that make it easier to deal with the hillside? It does, right?
Well, it makes it easier to deal with the hillside, but and I think under any scenario, the grade that you want to go up with a full truck on a icy day doesn't change,
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
I think in all of our, in every one of the scenarios.
You still have to get up
we
there.
kept the grade.
Yeah.
It says 6%.
I want to say it was 6%.
Yeah.
and would there be other potential scenarios of
Sure.
reducing the grade with fill, for example, or would that just be basically returning to the same problem? This is
I
not
didn't
a question.
hear the question.
Would there be any potential possibility of building up a retaining wall and reducing that grade with fill in a way that would be less invasive than the back end road that you proposed?
I'm sure there's other scenarios to get up that hill.
Yeah.
I think they would all probably,
Can I interrupt you?
yeah.
there's this right of way to this property up here. If something was worked out so that that didn't come here, I mean, I don't know how big a sand pile we need now. I mean, we're using we're using less and less sand because we're going more and more. Hey, and, you know, this takes up a big chunk of room here. This-
Cal, I can't see what you're referring to.
The sand pile that's on the west side of the property. Where the neighbor enters on, where Les driveway comes
Yeah.
down around. And instead of that sort of arrangement, you know. Another, you know, access and egress could be lived out.
With your neighbor through their property.
Or, you know, okay, there's kind of a landlocked couple acres here, you know. And there's a little water course here, you know, they
But you still have to get from one elevation to the other elevation, right? So,
We did everything, obviously, we're trying to do everything on your property, we were trying to create a scenario where in order for you to achieve a solution that we proposed, you would need a right of way through someone else's property.
I don't know if it makes sense, but just, you know, I look at. I mean, I would think if we're gonna put a lot of money into this piece of property, something ought to get solved on this sort of.
On that right of way.
I think it's dirty.
To the west there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, it's
Sooner or later, it's gonna come bite somebody in the ass.
well, when he sells, it may.
Yeah, exactly.
It may be an issue. Yeah, it was a challenging variable.
Yeah, so. I don't know, that's just one of my musings.
Yeah,
Do we have the property boundaries of the adjacent property? I'm sure-
not with us.
Yeah, so we get them.
That one is.
He's talking about the property over here, so.
He's talking about this property.
Okay,
You know,
Oh, yeah.
that there is a easement
There's
to come through your property, to get to his property.
Right.
That existed from, I assume he donated some of his land or sold some of his land at some point, but still needed access.
His father donated the land to the town.
Yeah.
That whole concept.
Yeah,
So it's an easement to the adjacent property owner to access his property.
Oh, I see.
The one that's kind of there.
I think, go back to your original question about the size of the building. So, we pretty much doubled the size of the DPW.
Right.
Right, but we also got rid of an 1,800 square foot Quonset hut. And assumed that the stuff that was in the Quonset hut was going in there. So while the DPW building doubled in size, it was also, taking in everything that was stored in the Quonset hut that doesn't get rebuilt in any of the scenarios. But
That's basically moving cold storage into warm storage. In essence.
I mean, that's one of the things we wanted to talk about is, and clearly is an internal discussion
yeah,
on our side, but.
Yeah.
What are, responsible ways that we could reduce the size of the building? So I think,
And how much did we do inside of the building change to the final price tag?
So,
Because if you have it, if you have a square footage, you might have a place, have to put it
I don't remember. Let's see how much of it was site cost.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah. So of the three options, does the town have an opinion? Disregarding cost, like
Regarding.
of the layout that works best?
I mean, my personal opinion is that the first side is off the table
Yeah, we can't afford that.
based
I
on,
mean, you want me to avoid the cost, but that's,
well, no, just based on,
concept one, you mean?
yeah, concept one.
I would
Where
have
would
the
be
build
Up-
up
up-
high.
Upper,
Okay, yeah,
given, from my point of view, given how
Be looking for this.
productive the lower designs are, I would be happy to go with, and the
Okay.
cost is lower also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's four soils up at the top of the hill.
Let's
So
see.
Yes. And yeah, right before you asked, I just looked down the option one.
Okay. So
We want
between option two and option three, let's just look at the cost for that.
Three.
Yes.
One, two, three. This is the one. Yeah, the building up top was a little bit problematic. The soils didn't work, supportive of a building. Like, you know, you're getting into deep foundations.
Right.
So there were some scenarios soil wise.
And that is because the soil is not firm, or what is it?
Yeah, the soil's too soft and
Okay.
deep. Just to support the foundations of the building.
It's a terminal marine. Ships. So.
So I like aspects, I like different aspects of 2 and 3. Guess I like 3 in that the current salt barn is retained. Utilized. That's just a thought. And the thing, I guess so to me, they differ most in the orientation of the new building. Shifted 90 degrees. And
About this is.
Yeah, if you look at the difference between those two options, so, right, one crosses into that state right away, and one does not.
aha, yeah, okay, so the one that's perpendicular to the road crosses into the right way.
I truly believe that's probably something that can be fixed.
I think so too.
It's a matter of giving it the attention that it needs to get.
Yeah.
I agree, so I'm open to
So
discussing that,
Yeah.
but, you know, concept 2 to me, so yeah, I think I'd like to have more discussion about, if we can resize, right size the building, and then the other thing, I don't know. Concept 2, is there, is there any way that we could repurpose the current building and build out from it? You know, that, I discussed that with at least one other board member who. Is the current building just. Best written off, or, could we refurbish it and, build off from it?
I had a question which, we might want to put off, but I was surprised that you didn't feel we were in a good position for grant money. Because I thought we had them.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't do that analysis myself. You have a person, a grant writing firm that looks into all of that.
yes,
And but that is the information I got back for them, that, mostly they thought it was a poor candidate for grants. They did list a bunch of grants that were available and to pursue.
Mhm.
But I did get a warm fuzzy feeling about, being able to fund a lot of the building via grants.
That's something we could pursue, I think.
yeah,
The one thing I know, you have the geothermal option in there, and I suspect there would be like certain
exactly,
incentives for that.
right.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think
so there could be
that's different. Yeah,
smaller,
that's-
I think our initial grant writers, their take is always looking for big chunks of
For big
money.
things,
Yeah,
yeah.
so there's usually smaller pieces of multiple grants that could be available. But it's not, they're not $100,000 here, $50,000 here, whatever, right? So
Mhm.
NYSERDA is one of them. The other thing on grants, the community grant program, I think is due in May or June typically for the state. And this report provides you with enough information where you could use it to actually start applying, start the application process to see if you can get in on the community block grant.
Oh, this is CBDB, whatever, yeah, okay, yeah.
But you wouldn't be doing this, we would be doing. it.
Well, right, I mean, obviously, we have grant writers that can assist if you want to, but
That's,
you know,
should we follow?
everything we do is based on time and.
Yeah, I understand, just who does what. So that's,
The more you can do, I would say, if you have people that are competent and feel comfortable writing grant, it's just paperwork, right? And writing the narrative, it's that upfront narrative to show the hardship and sell the project
Mhm.
to win the money, right? And so,
You know, one thing that we don't explore, but. It's always politics is, can your local politicians get you any government money from New York State?
Yeah.
Be funding for a project that's. I have seen that passed, but it's not something you can study, it's.
Right.
It's politics.
yeah, so there could be water quality improvement.
can we get a
grants,
list of what our
possibly
grant
your
writers have looked at,
stormwater
like,
management.
the infrastructure bill, where the money was given to New York through it, whether we can apply for it, I mean, how does.
So one thing I would
how do
like
we
to,
interface
I
with
would
your
like to
grant?
focus on can we pursue that later? Because I want to,
Okay,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think we have such serious questions about the scope of this project and where we want to go. I understand we need to get,
I understand that these can't be answered, but I would really appreciate a list of what has been looked at and what hasn't been looked at for grants, so we're not just spinning our wheels on the town board. And I also have a hard time figuring out how much we have to cut back, not knowing how much money we might be able to get in grants. If we're going on the idea that we are poor candidates for any grants, that's a different situation. For me to look at the details on what we can have or can't afford.
Well, another way to look at this is if we were able to get grants that cuts the bond. In my mind, it would cut the bond. It wouldn't affect the size of the project. The size of the project we want to determine now. Based upon what we can afford, whether we get grants or not. If we get grants, then it's less of a burden on the taxpayer. But we have to
Okay, so
move
you want
forward
that
with
to
this.
be the okay.
We have to move forward with this regardless. One way or the other in some fashion or another. So
yeah,
what we need to do is capitalize on this moment that we have with you guys. To talk turkey about especially size and structures. Because we don't have the expertise to imagine what costs can be saved by doing this or that.
Yeah. So. We're talking significant dollars that need to be cut. I think. The proposal used. The prior report. Figure. In the building condition report. So that's how that number got thrown out, because at the time of submitting to the RFP. We really had no knowledge.
Right.
Other than your site, visiting and looking at things. And I think that was that 5 or 6 million in the report. That sounds about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we're talking about. If that's the number that's in the town's mind, then
Right.
we're talking about a 50% reduction, which is really significant. There are things we can do, and I think we probably have to strategize internally a bit. But we can talk about things. Well, one of the first, I just did some quick math in my head on option 2. I'm assuming option 3's site cost is about the same. It looks like it's $2 million site cost, utilities, earthwork. And site improvements. So. You're a municipality, a lot of times when we're working in DPWs and with other municipalities, because you have all the equipment needed to do some of the site work, you can
Mhm.
self-perform some of it yourself, if you have the resources to do it. So I think internally, you could think about, well, how much of that site work can we do ourselves? Are we comfortable doing utility work? Can we do the concrete flat work? Can we do the paving work? Can we do the rough grading? And then figure that out. Obviously, that's a cost. It's still a cost to the town because you're supporting your own labor, but you've already got them employed.
Yeah.
And if they have available time, then you're just using labor that you're already paying for, right? So that's one way to consider that, and you might be able to shave, maybe it depends on your tolerance for it, but you might be able to save 50%, let's say, of the site cost. 30%, 50%, somewhere in that range, I would think. The other way, like you said, is gonna be cut square footage, so, and I think, you know, Dave and Aaron, in meeting with them as they developed this, you know, they were being fairly sensitive to trying to maintain some of the existing structures in
Yeah.
place.
Yep.
And I would say, I think likely what we're gonna have to do is look at your program requirements
Mhm.
and look at this layout and try to figure out what the budget will allow to be built now, and then take a look at phasing approach to this project, so that you can get the absolute necessity
Mhm.
of a functioning highway garage. And, you know, maybe the fuel island is something that can be done at a later date. I know it's not like in the best location, and I know it is problematic, but that's just an example. Maybe certain things on the inside, maybe we can get the shell built and portions of maybe the interior of the admin section doesn't get built initially, right? So I mean, those are bigger things
Mhm.
to try and figure out. So I think one thing we can do is figure out, like, if we just took the structure down to a base structure, then what's that gonna cost? And then are there things that can be done elsewhere? Because you could always piece in over time capital improvement projects for certain things, or again, use some labor to do some of it. You know, the office component isn't that big. I mean, what you really need is a place to store your vehicles and a place to work on them. So I don't know how many square feet is the admin, Dave, 30,
Is the what part?
just the administrative portion,
42 by
28.
That's
On
maybe.
concept two,
I mean, the other option is maybe bringing a Scotsman trailer or something for that, if we can build that admin section, thunder on site. Scotsman trailers are like, they probably has a better idea for this.
I was supposed to do the math. I mean, the first floor is about 2,400 square feet.
Story.
And we had a mezzanine above that for storage.
well, concept three
So this one's
has
more, this part.
has the drive-through option and has less square footage.
That's $1 million if you built that.
It's a square footage, you know.
450 square foot. Then you get at least the highway garage built. Now, the other thing is,
And stuff.
depending on how this gets built on site. And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
tough
yeah.
because the existing garage is there, but maybe there's an opportunity to
This whole
use
thing, yeah.
some of the existing garage.
Are
to
the two
maintain
parts
both
considered the
storage.
admin, or is it just the storage?
So the other option is. Maybe the highway garage gets maintained somehow. Until you can build bays
Oh, I see.
for storage, and you build the office in the maintenance bay now.
You can work.
So that's one garage unit and the administrative.
Right, we just designed that end wall for future expansion of the storage.
Yeah, I feel fine.
I mean, yeah, what occurs to me is that, you know, maybe we need a reevaluation of what we're asking for, of the functional program, because you're constrained by that, right? So,
Like, do we need quite as many bays? That would be one of my questions.
Yeah,
but that's kind of an internal question, so.
yeah, is there a lean-to structure, you know, a simple
Yeah.
pole barn that could be put up?
Right.
That.
Yeah.
Those just get stored in or under, just to keep snow and weather off
Right.
of them. I think those are the types of things that you really have to think about, because there's no way to take a $12 or $13 million project down to 6 without drastically cutting it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I mean, there is a need, you definitely have a need, so. Operationally. I think what would be nice is for us to receive from you,
Mhm.
like. Of our needs, the whole program is our needs, and that's our wish list, but like, what's the priority here? What's our top 5 or 10 things that we absolutely have to
What's the
have?
absolute must? Where's that line?
And how can we achieve that?
I think it needs to get dovetailed into with you know, truly understanding your cost to your taxpayer through somebody like Bernie Donegan's office. And having, you know, really good numbers.
And the cost not now, but over the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
Because I think this equipment's gonna change in the next 20 years.
What's gonna change?
The equipment's gonna change. We're gonna be going from diesel powered to electric powered. And I think it's really important to get this stuff inside.
Yeah.
And worked on, stayed up on, and kept clean, because otherwise it's gonna be a nightmare, and I think we need the cost over the life of the expectancy of the structure, not,
That's what this is that they gave us, right?
no. This is the cost of construction for this project that we have to come up with the money for, and it isn't like
That's been escalated out, I think, 2.5 years.
like the resale value on that truck in 5 years or something. What's it gonna be compared if it sits outside in that cold versus if it's kept?
Right,
So, yeah,
there's a
those numbers-
devaluation of your equipment.
Correct, and those numbers are huge. And it's hard because,
so, yeah,
I mean, I just see it time and again, just dealing with farm equipment and stuff, we leave it out in, you know, God's warehouse.
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is.
No, so we're talking about
So
the
cold storage.
possibility of shifting some of the warm storage to cold storage.
so you're
Would
opposed
be
to
covered.
that, cold storage.
Because it doesn't get work done. But you say, we'll have cold storage and we'll do it, but there's just human nature, it just doesn't happen.
I don't understand. We're talking about building the structures.
Yeah, it would be a management.
It's totally a management thing, but there's just the reality of. I don't know, I mean, yes, it's big, and I'm not trying to defend, I'm just trying to share my experience and thoughts of what I've seen. You know, if you can get over this hump if we can get over this hump, to get things under one, as much as possible, under one roof, inside.
But we want to just define what things are our priority. So,
Yeah.
The potential bridge to get there is maybe the lean-to structure that we would have for the existing equipment could be built so that the members size appropriately to be later enclosed. So you can start with it while you have the equipment where it's diesel, you don't have to worry about the batteries and things being stored inside. And then when you do eventually get that equipment, then that becomes another project where you close the space.
Or you add on to, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
Well, we just have to deal with the reality, the hardcore reality that we're a town of 3,000 people. The population isn't gonna double, at least in the near future.
Yeah.
And we have to pay for this. And we can't expect to double people's taxes to do this. It's not gonna happen. The bond would, the public wouldn't accept it to begin with, no matter how hard we sold it. And as well as there are other projects in the town that people in the town really want. Cause when we go to present this to the public, we're gonna have to sell to the public. Why would he even want to spend this kind of money on a highway barn to begin with, regardless of what the highway department might want? You know, these are just realities.
I think that's where we're at. We just want a healthy internal conversation about, you know, what we need.
And I mean, this is incredibly informative and helpful. It gives us, I think, the templates of what we need. But if we could shift with some of these alternatives, perhaps, that might get us closer to where we need to be.
So I think the costs around this, Dave, are around a non-combustible type 2 building, right? From construction type. So that's, the assumption was to design something that you can bond for the longest duration. So, and that drives you into a steel and concrete built and away from wood, because you can't bond that stuff this long. That's where the bond council starts coming in. So there's,
Okay.
I think you can get a 30-year bond with a non-combustible. But so municipal law has different classifications for construction types than building code does, but it's basically non-combustible, fire resistant construction can be bonded to 30 years. Then I think it's 15 years on, maybe a metal pole barn. Wood is less, maybe 10. Like if you do anything in wood, you know, it reduces, there's other complications with this type of facility that we'd have to look into for type 5 construction. But we didn't look at that right now. So there is some cost savings to reduce the construction type, but from your perspective as board members and town administrators, you know, you're not talking about building a 50-year building now. You're talking about a building that you have to maintain. There's going to have ongoing maintenance with it. It's a 25-year building, right? Which is why you can't bond it as long. So there's just that piece of it. Yes, you get a new structure, but it's going to have ongoing maintenance. So that's the piece. I think that's what Dave's kind of saying. You know, bond council comes in handy as you start talking to the public, and maybe it's a good time to have a public information meeting to say, look, we need a new highway facility.
Yeah.
Here's what the highway department does for you. It maintains your streets, it does your snow plowing, right? It does, these are the things we maintain. Your utilities, we're out there helping keep this town running, right? I mean, there's that, you have to start letting people know, look at this facility. I mean, you might even and visit the facility themselves. Yeah. I mean, talk to your insurance company, obviously. Be my recommendation. You know, at least open the doors up, right? And get them there if they want to see it. Because if you just go out the referendum and you don't try to educate the public on what's going on, what the needs are, and what you witness trying to run the town, that the people don't know that, right? They just might, you know. I go about my daily life and things are great.
I think it'll be important to do that. I still think at this point, you know, as I said earlier, we need to hone what we're asking for from the town's perspective.
Yeah.
And there are some, like, you know, even, I don't know if it's significant, but looking at the office spaces, you know, do we need all of those?
One thing you guys mentioned that, you know, we didn't really go into is, the existing DPW building has height issues, right? But you can fit some equipment in there. You know, and, you know, if there's a scenario like you say, you know, what can we do with that existing structure? You know, what can we salvage out of it, you know, can we, you know, completely, gut the admin piece out of there, rebuild it, salvage some of those bays, add on to that building, so, you know, a couple of deeper, you know, bays with additional height. You know, so I think that might be a big savings to probably pursue it. I think you kind of walk through that building with me. You see that building being resalvaged, repurposed.
What can be, there's a lot of work to be done, but yeah, it could be.
It has some limitations as far as depth, width, height.
Yeah.
But you know, it can accommodate administration, you could take a bay and you could have, you know, a mezzanine above it. And then you, that was what, 3 bays?
Five, right?
Well,
There's three doors.
There's 3 doors.
3 doors,
3 doors, right? Three of those.
3 double doors.
Three double doors. And,
3 older double
Are those
older size.
but here's what I'm gonna, you know,
I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting.
that would take some more analysis, like what can you do with the existing building? How much of can you salvage, you know, open up one end of it, you know, maybe you're re-siding the whole thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're re-roofing it as part of the projects, when you get done, you're looking at, you know, it looks like one structure. It's
I see.
all got the same roof,
Yeah.
all got the same siding. Yeah, but it might be a substantial savings there. You're going that route, and yeah, maybe you don't get everything that you want, but you're gonna get some more cold storage, you're gonna have some warm storage.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you pursue.
I think we have to look at trying to repurpose that somehow. I'm not sure if it's, you know, if you change it to an office function, you change it the occupancy type, it's gonna drive you into a change of use, it have to be totally brought up to current code. You maintain it as a storage facility. Now it's an alteration.
Would be simple.
The office is in there now. There's
Yeah.
Yeah, accessory. We have to
accessory.
do a code review on it just to see, I mean, you'd be, you know. Anyway, I think it's worth looking at, in my mind.
I love that.
You
idea.
could reskin the building, you know, there's a bunch of step cracking we just saw as we drove by, so we didn't do a conditions assessment on that, because it was already done, right? In the original report, so we'd have to dive into that original
Mhm.
report. The other thing, I guess, you know, it's located in the center of everything there. I think your biggest need is what we're gonna hear from you is your biggest need is better maintenance facility, because you can't work on vehicles currently in that facility, would be my guess. Because it has height restrictions, and you know, that would be my guess, just, and I didn't tour it and go through it, but.
You know, I mean, when you look at option 2. You can see the existing building there in red. And you can see what's being added onto it. And you can see, you know, we're still sliding, you know, we're getting a 6% slope road going up to the top site. And, you know, another scenario is, you know, the Quonset hut goes, but the salt storage stays.
Yeah, I think that's intriguing.
And there's still room for the new road going.
There's
up.
still room for the new road to go up. You know, I think the one building, let's see, this is north, you know, the east side. You know, there's money in the estimate to re-side it, re-roof it. That building seemed like it was a lot of value. And it can't be rebuilt there, it was never torn down. So I think that was an important building to maintain.
Okay, so which one, is it the Morton building?
No,
not the new one, the old one by the creek.
Oh, that,
Far away, the raccoon building.
Yeah, the raccoon shed.
We'll never get that back turned. Right, you're never gonna get, well, you guys issue a permit, but I mean, you're not, shouldn't have a permit, to build something that close to that creek.
yeah,
So it's something worth salvaging and maintaining, and it had quite a bit of storage available in it. I think the building that was in the shape was definitely the Quonset hut.
Yep,
Yep.
Needed to go.
it has to go.
Yeah, but it probably is a bare bones scenario that we could look at if we had, information, like Tom says, of, what is that we have to have.
Mhm. What do, I mean,
I guess in hindsight, I wish we gave you an option like that, but that's not, this kind of was in our program here.
Yeah.
Following the program.
exactly, I agree. What do others think about that idea?
I think it's worth looking into. I mean, it sounds,
Well, I'd always imagine trying to keep the extant building for cold storage in one way or another anyway. That was always my hope. Realizing that may or may not be possible. But if we could
Oh, it's the little blue.
imagine something
diagonal.
adding on to it, like you say, and repurposing it for whatever use we can get out of it, that would be a possibility.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to look at that
Yeah,
report. I'm,
I mean, it might not be feasible.
I'm on the fence of whether we should do it attached to it
or make it separate.
or just keep it as a detached cold storage. And unfortunately, highway department staff will have to go there to get to the vehicles and do an admin maintenance shop.
My experience with state cost sharing on farm stuff is they do not allow the buildings to be, you can't add on and attach it to an existing building. It has to be, you can, build right up to it, but they won't let you, build off that building.
But why wouldn't we be able to do that?
Because if you're getting a state grant, they're gonna say, I mean, you can build right up,
Anyway,
I find out, yeah.
it's just one of those,
We're gonna build a breezeway of some sort or,
Well, that's where the office piece maybe
yeah.
goes between maintenance and
Mhm.
storage,
That's always a good solution.
but,
I mean, it's a small point, but I'm just saying, to your.
yeah, there may be a connection to it. There are some restrictions. So I'm just thinking from a code standpoint, if we attach to it, there's a whole bunch of things. And because we're probably still close to double the size of it, it's gonna trigger a whole bunch of other code things. So the best approach to existing buildings is to try not to go over that threshold, like keep an alteration level 1
Right,
renovation, so you don't have to fix all the deficiencies, and as long as you're just storing vehicles in there. The other thing with it is it's not really cold storage, because we can still have unit heaters in it. It has utilities. Like, we could have gas fired unit heaters in there, and we could temper the space, so to your point, it's not truly cold storage, it's just a detached garage. Separate from where all the other stuff is going on.
Well,
So it'd be like an office building and then
Structures dry out.
Except the maintenance, I just don't think you can use that for maintenance.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at the floor and all that stuff, so that could be the
Yeah.
other factor with what we're talking about, we need to look at it structurally. To make sure,
foundation.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was a completely steel structure with some block infill. That's what I was trying to
About
remember.
4 feet.
Yeah, but I think that's block, just infill, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So you have a steel structure there.
as long as, a lot of times in those things, the bottom. Look at the base plates, the bottom columns rust out, right?
Yeah.
Usually what we end up doing is cutting those columns off. A foot, 18 inches, and welding on a new section, and you have that segmentally around the building. We've done a whole bunch of highway garages
That
where
way,
we've restored them that way and then just reskin it. And you kind of just put a new, again, if it's just storage,
Mhm.
people aren't in there. That approach could work, we just wanna make sure structurally that building
Mhm.
is sound enough to invest, because you're still gonna invest money in it.
sure, of course,
But it would save you significant money, I mean, that alone may bring the project to
in the
that
ballpark.
$5 or $6 million.
I was thinking.
Yeah, and of course, you all know what we've dealt with since COVID and supply chain
Yep.
and just the economy. I mean, literally costs are a third more than what they were prior to that. So the cost of that report, factor it up a
Who
third.
knows? Yeah,
So it's at least an $8 million, $8 or $9 million project just from economic times. You just hit, unfortunately,
Yeah.
you hit a bad time.
And you
But
guys
it's
are
not gonna
building
get
it.
better.
You guys are obviously, operating under prevailing wage rates.
Yeah,
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably adds 50%
yeah.
to the price of the project.
so what do you think about that, Cal? Some sort of,
It's,
worth
I
looking
mean,
at.
it's, the dollars and cents gotta work. It's just,
Well, if we can get something that is really workable by doing that, I just would
That would
be
great.
all over
That'd be
that.
great, yeah.
Me too.
Since your recommendation, in regards to bond council, like, what conversations and when should we have the conversation with bond council, based on your experience?
Every municipality is a little different. Because I sense this is a tough sell for the community. I think it's important to at least get some preliminary numbers on it, so at least you have an idea.
Sure,
Like, even if you use these numbers, or just say, okay, this is a $12 million project. What's that impact to our taxes? Now, let's say we cut that to a $6 million project, what's that? At least you'll have an idea of what can be stomached, and again,
Yeah.
that early public engagement
yeah,
to just say. And I think you really should engage the public, because
I
now you have this.
Yeah.
And they need to know that you realize that this isn't palatable for the community, but we need something, right? So they're engaged with the challenge that you all
Yeah.
have, and they understand that you're trying to bring the project down
right,
to
Right.
something that everyone can stomach and lessen the impact to them, but something needs to be done. So
Yeah.
is that $6 million? Is it 4? And then we just have to figure out how
What
to
to do.
approach this,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I would say, I think most people understand the need for this project. I just think that we have to do our due diligence to come up with something that we feel is responsible and appropriate for the town, so.
I'm not sure most people know where the barns are. I'm just saying, I talk to people, I'm like, oh yeah, we're thinking about, we're planning on doing this, and they're like, oh,
Where are they?
where are they? I didn't know we had any. I mean, I don't think they're all that aware, so I think
Well,
engaging
I'm
people and.
I'm not saying we don't get,
Oh, I
I'm
know that.
totally
I
all
know you're
over
not.
that, so.
But I like the idea of saying this is what it is, and then as we work at it and get it to be something we can handle, that people understand how we're working it down. And our efforts.
yeah, I just think if you whittle it down to something internally and then present it, they're not gonna understand where you came from.
Right.
Regardless of whether you tell them during the first meeting, look, this is what we did and we worked it out, this is now what they're gonna think it's all smoke and mirrors. If you show them now, this is what we have, they're gonna understand this is open book, like, we're not hiding anything from you, this is real cost based on what our consultants gave us.
I know we've done this before. been really, really open about procedure and things like this, and it's been,
For highway mark, what?
oh, not for highway barns, for other projects. That sometimes it's misunderstood, but.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a major
You just have to
capital
keep going.
project.
But this is
of course
a
it can
capital
be,
project, so
Yeah.
it's this is a different thing.
So. So yeah. I agree. That's
Okay.
great.
So I guess the question that I have for you guys is, how can we keep proceeding? I mean, I would like to try to start thinking about these other scenarios regardless of presentation to the public, because I think we're gonna have to go there regardless anyway.
Yeah, I'm coming, I was talking about, come back to us like. This is what we wanna keep indoors. We have this one building you talked about, the one over by the creek, that's what we're gonna put in there. We're gonna put like, wherever you can fit in there, assume the Quonset hut's gone. Then, ask us to come back with one more scenario, one more estimate.
Okay,
Great.
based on this most recent conversation.
Conversation and,
It's unfortunate that Bob wasn't here to hear this conversation.
I know. It
So-
is.
oh, yeah.
In either concept, the road that goes to the upper level runs over land we don't own.
Your neighbors, driveway,
No, not the neighbor's driveway, it's neighbor's,
which one?
either concept.
Which line here?
If this line's the property,
Right, it's actually this line that's right here.
okay,
That's that faint line right up at the top.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
bottom.
this one
sorry.
here,
okay, so this is not
So
the
there's,
property.
there's a dark solid line and that came from like the mapping service where we got the map from. And then the line that's closer to the edge of
Okay,
the image,
Okay.
that's the
I see
property
it,
line.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
okay.
Yeah.
Is this line here good?
No, so it's this.
He was
right here.
thinking
So
this
it follows pretty closely to the edge.
I see it, but it's
not.
this dotted one here,
Okay.
Yes.
okay.
And wait, what's the solid one then?
The solid one, it just came from the mapping service where
Okay.
Okay.
we got the satellite image.
And
Okay,
that was incorrect.
Yeah.
Dave, did you verify?
Yes, we had, so this is, we
Work
took around
around.
and had
Head down.
our civil team kind of
Okay,
corrected it.
okay.
what's the chance of getting a good well at this site?
So the well,
The property owner up here says he has good water and a lot of it, but
so what you're looking at though, incredibly steep grade over there. That hill goes, this hill over here, Tom.
That's why it switchbacks around that area.
It's
Yeah.
incredibly steep. They actually drive trucks up this hill and are able to dump
Right,
stone down onto the top of the pile. It's incredibly, this is very steep. But there was another question over here. Let's talk, you had a question about the road, but you have a question?
We had a question about the property line, I think.
Oh, you're-
Yeah.
you're
The
still-
answer.
did you
you're all-
verify it? And
Yeah.
then just about water well.
Oh, that was.
Oh, the well,
Well.
the well. So. Obviously, we didn't do any well testing, but they looked at the soils, and they looked at all the probes that we put into the ground.
Yeah.
And they, basically came back and said that you either would have to have. Some wells that are daisy chained together to get the volume you're looking for. Or there was some thought that as you got closer and closer to the creek. There were some soils there that might make for a good well.
so we need the water to wash the trucks. So they're here.
Well, that was a whole nother
That's- I was gonna ask about that.
obstacles, because when we went to look at the septic, Jody Allen. Jody Allen had done some other, things like this, and you're not allowed to put the wash water from your vehicles into your septic system. Because it has oil in it, it's considered contaminated. So under every scenario where you were washing a vehicle, you were gonna have to export that material off as contaminated liquids.
Okay, oh, okay.
Regardless
So
of
I-
what site you would be on.
Regardless of what site you'd be on, the
Okay.
only scenario they had that she offered to me was, oh, you have the ability to wash trucks outside on a grass surface with no detergents, no soaps, no.
Just rinse them off.
Just rinse them off, which is not what you want. And it would, I could not find a good scenario where you got to wash your vehicles.
Yeah,
Does the county have a facility we could use every once in a while? Or just, that's not optional either, but I'm just wondering.
What, so how do the fire departments wash their trucks generally? Is that just?
so if they have
soft
municipal,
stuff?
if they have municipal sewer, it's fine, you're discharging
Right.
municipal sewer and they treat everything that gets
Yeah.
discharged. The problem is when you're on a septic, there's not a treatment system.
But
so
our
they-
fire trucks aren't on municipal. That's what I'm
Yeah,
wondering.
and I can't tell you that everything. I can't tell you that everything I've done for
So DEC changes their rules every now and then, so.
And they're probably not gonna tell you what they do with it.
That's probably right. They probably never wash them. So.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's what they're gonna tell.
I'm sure they watch them every day.
But-
It's in fire trucks, so.
Can we use facilities then if it's necessary? I'm just wondering.
um,
Can we use county facilities?
There's all
to
kinds of
wash the
shared.
trucks?
Well, yeah, we could
agreements.
We could ask,
see, but that, you know,
I mean.
I mean, you gotta wash these trucks pretty often.
I know.
that's,
Well, what do they
That
do
just
right
seems
now?
Crazy to drive.
For what?
Yeah, so you could
Just
hose them down outside.
they hose them out back.
Yeah, so,
Which we've done at other DPWs, just the pressure washer station outside, you pull up, you wash them down. And
Doesn't work well when you need it, that's in the winter.
it doesn't, but that's, the other thing I think you could do is you could get an undercarriage drive over spray system. The other challenge with it is we're on well water, and we might not have enough water
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah.
So you'd be into a water reclamation system typically. You know, because we deal with snow and salt, those things get cloudy and they don't typically work well.
As well.
But that's
Yeah.
Places that have to, they just do clean and capture,
right,
and then they pump it once a month.
exactly. At least you're getting, you know, you get the major debris off with an undercarriage spray system and. You know, but it's not really what you're looking for. But that's about all you can do unless you want to capture the water and have the expense because.
Yeah, those, it's not cheap, when you call
It's-
something like a
it's
safety clean,
I mean, we're
doing
doing
your water.
EMS.
Figure $2,000 a month.
Yeah, probably.
What, is that a company that comes and gets the water, you're saying?
Yeah, it's a typical company like somebody like, yeah, safety
Yeah.
clean, you know.
For this town, it'd probably be, our fee would probably be a couple thousand a month.
It's
That's
about
pretty
right.
The amount of equipment we have,
So you just have a huge tank to store it.
Yeah.
yeah, you use that 35,000 gallon tank and that drain runs into.
But then we have the water withdrawal issue.
Right,
No, that's a whole.
that's what I was asking about the county. They're, I mean,
Right, but
they're
let's
on
say, I
municipal
mean,
water, even if they charge, it's still.
county's not, I mean, yeah, if you wash the trucks once a week or something, maybe, or
That's what-
once a month, but
Yeah,
they're pretty far away.
I know. But they
Interesting.
might have all this facility set up, their own public water, I would think. I have to drive my car to get it washed. Understand?
You what?
I have to drive my car to get it washed. I'm just saying, you know.
But, yeah,
These vehicles are out in the worst possible, whether they doesn't fit.
yeah, it's
for-
a maintenance thing that-
Yeah.
for every day.
Yeah,
Then they're just out, in all the- you know, well, anyway.
And that's just a cost that we're gonna have to build into this project. I mean, it's-
It could be.
Or if you retain the
It's
old
also-
building, you just keep doing things the way you've been doing. Just let it run out around the building and down across the road ditch and across.
Into the creek.
city water
It's
system.
the creek.
But that's a new concept.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a. Oh. That's a frustrating little thing.
And in regard regardless of where we have it, we're gonna have to pump the septic up the hill, it looks like.
Yes. Almost in every scenario. Septic had to be close to the hill. Septic had to be so far away from your property line, that had to be so far away from, any wells. That had to be so far away from, and, yeah, and creek, and there was some real issues with, you know, what soils were even going to allow you to have like a septic system.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know it was an Elgin system, what got recommended.
What's that? So like a raised bed, so it goes through a series of tubes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just good for us to
When
know.
you think about it, that it's pretty minimum.
Yeah.
Wherever the septic system is, it's still like, you know, pretty minimum cost to
Comparatively,
pump up fluid uphill.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's a big giant sump pump that's enclosed. They usually last for a long time. You need to get like 10 years out of this.
they use them on lake properties all the time.
Okay.
You know, from a business end, you know, we've kind of completed our report. If you guys come back to us with something, I'm sure,
Do like a
Town-
appendix or something.
you know, Tom can speak to this, but you. If you ask us to do more work, you know, we're gonna have an initial, you know, an additional fee for you that we're going to send you, you just, you know. We can maybe be able to modify our current contract, I don't know, but. You know,
Like a change order.
yeah, you know, but I think if you kept it down to one estimate. One. Scenario, you can minimize your cost on that.
Yeah, so we'll look at that and see, you know, where we are. With our effort here, see what we can do to assist. I think, you know, we issued the report draft form at this point. So, you know, the expectation was we'd issue it in draft form, receive comments, finalize it. So we do realize we have some effort. The
It's a,
total redesign.
right,
You know, we'll have to see if we're sticking to conceptual design. It's this component of evaluating that existing structure. Which we need structural to get in here and take a look at that. So let's get the information first.
Yep.
We'll assess our effort and see if we have anything remaining that we can absorb that or not. But, you know, I'd like to get. We could just amend the report and add the other concept to it. We have a cost estimator that.
Yeah.
That didn't assume they'd have to do that. That's a cost that, you know.
Yeah.
Is not internal to us, so there are some things I think that we'll probably have to request.
Okay.
Ad service, but hopefully we can minimize it.
okay. Yeah, I don't know, I mean, they aren't, you know, major parts of $10 million, whatever, but there were some other things that. Like some of the amenities that went along with it, I would propose those are things that the town would either. Repurpose or install, instead of having those be part of the project. Like just the video system or the, you know, other amenities, furniture and, you know,
Appliances,
yeah.
but those are
And then
minor costs
Yeah.
comparatively.
Yeah, but so you go through the estimate and
Yeah.
like, you know,
Screen them out.
we just put on there by owner. You can see all the, this is all gonna be by owner. And we'll take them out,
Okay,
so identify what they are.
okay, great.
Well, good news is interest rates have come down.
Yesterday,
And it looks like.
See where they are in 2 years.
When you start talking 30 years for something,
Yeah.
Yes.
and if soil costs come down, that means the cost of concrete will probably come down.
Everything comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been
Because of
a raise in the last
I mean, you know, if you can, if this can be financed at 2% instead of 5%. Probably.
So we have some homework to do to get back to you
Yeah.
with these things. I appreciate
And
that.
until a serious meeting with Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions or comments for the Labella Group?
I mean, I think you gave us exactly what we need, you know.
Yeah, I would, I think maybe on our way out of town, we can stop,
Drive
get our eyes on that building one time, you know, from that perspective of, it's just.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I would say the action item, biggest action item for the town right now is to give us that priorities list that you see. And I think you really should at least have a preliminary discussion with town council just to confirm. Cause we, you know, it's hard for us to design in a vacuum. We really need to know that number.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't have to be an exact, but if you could let
I
us
see.
know what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
But what you're really saying is,
He needs to know.
what is the number we're asking for?
Yeah, because we need to know.
money? You gotta be kidding me.
Well, I don't wanna just come back and say, well, it's $9 million, and that's not,
And we say,
that's
never
not
mind, yeah.
something that will work, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if 6 is that either, so I
Right.
think you at least need to know the tax impact.
Well, then that,
$90.
I agree, that's great, and because, you know, you can say, well, if that's the reality, then you can't have that, you can't have.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be project specific, it's just generalities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's the effect of the tax base?
Take the money and put it in an amusement park.
Yeah, I think the next, you know, who knows, who has a crystal ball, the next 12 months. Are gonna be very telling of what happens with the economy.
Yep, I probably agree with that.
So, you know.
Yeah, great. Great, so I did grab some lunch stuff. You guys would like to tank up before you leave or grab and go either way, so.
We all like to eat.
So,
Well, thank you.
good, so, yeah, should we conclude the meeting
Yeah.
formally?
Yeah.
Okay, great, so. Meeting is now concluded, great, thanks Jesse and Dominic.